Okay. So we're making the initial dials. What's going to happen is we're live now. Good afternoon and welcome to today's telephone town hall with Congressman Patrick Murphy and the National Association of Realtors. My name's Kim and I'll be the moderator for today's event. We're going to begin in just a moment and we're very excited to have you join us today. Before we begin, I want to make a few quick points. Right now, we're in the process of dialing out to thousands of members, so just stay on the line and we'll be hearing from Congressman Murphy and the National Association of Realtors shortly. Also, we want to hear from you. If you want to ask a question of Congressman Murphy, please press 0 on your telephone keypad, and you're going to be directly connected with one of our volunteer operators who will take down your question. Again, press 0 to ask a question. If you've just joined us, I'm going to go through this one more time. So good afternoon and welcome to today's telephone town hall with Congressman Patrick Murphy. I'm Kim and I'll be the moderator today. We're going to begin in just a moment, so if you have any questions, please just press 0 on your telephone keypad and you'll be able to ask a question of Congressman Murphy directly. We'll have one of our volunteer operators take down that question. So now, without further delay, it's my pleasure to introduce Congressman Patrick Murphy. Congressman?
Great. Well, thank you very much, Kim, and thank you all for tuning in, for dialing in. I appreciate your time and look forward, of course, to any questions. I figured I'd just give a quick introduction here, quick opening remarks, and then get to questions. So thank you again, and I just want to take a quick minute to thank Carl and the entire team that is represented here today, and let everyone on the call know that you have a great group of advocates in Washington, D.C. that are constantly going through the halls of Congress and the Senate talking about the various pieces of legislation that are so important to not only you all, but really our community. And in a state like Florida, where real estate is such an important part of our economy, I think it's really important that you keep those advocates there. And for those of you that take the time to go to Washington, D.C. or go to Tallahassee or stay involved in the legislative process, it is very, very important. And look, since coming to Congress, I've focused on three main things. Number one is getting our fiscal house in order. Two is fighting for our communities, our local communities especially, and bringing common sense to Washington. So, first of all, as far as our fiscal house goes, one of the first pieces of legislation I introduced was the SAVE Act. It was a package that combined saved about $330 billion by eliminating duplicative and wasteful spending and by instituting common sense measures like bulk buying or competitive bidding, turning off your computers at night. One of my priorities is reducing our long-term debt. A big part of that starts with getting rid of this wasteful, duplicative, or even fraudulent spending. So that will continue to be a priority. Another piece on the fiscal end was passing a couple of my amendments from those bills that totaled tens of billions of dollars in savings. And I've made sure to focus on reducing regulations and increasing incentives to help businesses grow in order to strengthen our economy, whether that's locally or whether that's nationally. We have to make sure we have a strong business climate to help our country grow. The second priority that I've focused on is our communities. And this is an area that I'd say I'm most proud of. As you know, there's a lot of gridlock in D.C., but we've been able to really, I think, move the needle locally. And I've worked hard to protect our environment and our economy. Starting off, we were able to secure $12 million in beach renourishment money, $38 million to help clean our local waterways, and helping to move Everglades restoration forward. Additionally, we were able to get $125 million for citrus greening research to protect our local ag jobs. Additionally, I've been a fighter against olive board Florida and will continue to fight against it. I imagine there'll be some more questions on olive board, and I certainly look forward to those. And with the recent release of the EIS, the Environmental Impact Study, I want to give a brief update there. And then lastly, just common sense. As we know, Washington spends way too much time playing partisan games and not working together to solve problems. People I talk to nowadays are tired of the gridlock, tired of the finger pointing. They just want solutions. And one of the first things I did in D.C. was form a group called United Solutions. It was a freshman bipartisan group that focused on our fiscal house, focused on specific issues like tax reform, Medicare, Social Security, and government waste. I've fought additionally, against some of the typical congressional perks that I think are ridiculous, whether that's rejecting pay raises, health insurance subsidies, and a paycheck if Congress doesn't pass a budget. I'm also proud that my voting record was ranked to be the top 5% most independent in all of Congress. This is something that I think is really important. 95% of members of Congress vote more in lockstep with the party than I do. So I appreciate you all dialing in and certainly look forward to any questions you may have.
Great. Thank you so much, Congressman. Again, everyone, you are on a live telephone town hall with Congressman Patrick Murphy. Congressman, we're going to go to our first question. We have our first question coming in from Emily. Emily, you are now live on the line.
Hi there, Congressman.
Hi, Emily.
Hi, thank you so much for taking my question.
Yes. Well,
I was just wondering. Yeah, right. I was just wondering, when the Congress is back in session after the election, what do you think the chances are of the mortgage debt tax forgiveness bill passing?
Yeah, well, thank you, Emily. Unfortunately, I would say it's unlikely this year. I just got back to Florida from Washington, D.C., and we are here until the election is over. So we're here for another 6 weeks or so. Quite frankly, I think we should be in Washington, D.C. right now. I think we should be up there working longer on a lot of issues, including mortgage debt forgiveness and a lot of other issues that are yet to be resolved in this Congress. Unfortunately, I don't get to dictate that schedule. But this is a piece of legislation that came out of the Senate Finance Committee with bipartisan support this past summer, and I think it would go a long way toward extending tax provisions that would help middle-class families all across Florida and certainly in our district. And as you know, some of the key provisions are relief for mortgage debt forgiveness and even deductions for energy-efficient buildings. And the way I look at it, until Florida digs out from the foreclosure crisis and middle-class families can see the light at the end of the tunnel, I will remain committed to passage of this legislation. I wish we had an opportunity. I wish the Speaker would bring it up for a vote. And this is a common sense policy to cut taxes and help struggling families. The precise type of thing that wouldn't be difficult if we had more representatives in D.C., working together on solving problems instead of scoring cheap political points on one side or the other. And the bill was unfortunately blocked in the Senate. And, with the current makeup of the House, I don't think it's going to come up in the next, in the end of the year or in the lame duck session. But I do remain hopeful and committed to getting it passed.
Great. Thank you so much. Again, everyone, you're on a live telephone town hall. If you'd like to ask a question of Congressman Murphy, please just press 0 on your telephone keypad, and you'll get through and be able to ask a question of the Congressman. Again, press 0 at any time if you'd like to ask a question. We want to go to our next question. We have Nick from Palm Beach. Nick, you're now live on the air. Go ahead and ask your question.
Hi there, Congressman.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. My question today is about the proposed FEMA flood maps and how they look and how they impact our district.
Yes, great question, and this is definitely something we've been, very passionate about up in Washington, D.C. I've spent a lot of time working with my colleagues from all over the country that don't understand some of the specific issues, that we've had here. And, for those that live in the Palm Beaches or Treasure Coast, the dream of home ownership is intricately connected to affordable flood insurance, which in turn relies on accurate flood maps that identify the home's risk of flooding. And when these maps are flawed, and unfortunately many have been, the consequences for both homeowners and the economy can be severe. Inaccurate maps could artificially deflate property values in some areas, while leaving others unprotected. So earlier this year, I had an opportunity to vote for the Homeowner Flood Insurance Affordability Act, which became law with bipartisan support. And the law, just as a quick summary for everybody, provides relief from unaffordable flood insurance premium hikes for middle-class homeowners in Florida by limiting annual increases to 15% on average, and it introduced a hard 18% cap for each individual policyholder. And additionally, the legislation retains the flood insurance program's grandfathering provision so that homes in compliance with previous FEMA flood maps will not be hit with large increases when the new maps are implemented. We were seeing, cases throughout the community where rates were going to go up 3,000% for some of our constituents. That is obviously unsustainable and something we had to fight against. This bill, as it stands, it requires FEMA to work with communities so that accurate data and mapping models are being used, and mandates that FEMA complete its affordability study. That was one of the key components that wasn't done. So we are encouraging participation in Palm Beach County's open house events to learn about the preliminary flood maps that were recently released by FEMA, and to meet face-to-face with their representatives. At these meetings, various attendees, whether it's someone on the phone or, just communities and people that are interested, they can look up their property, they can get insurance information, they can discuss appeals, protests, they can view the engineering study, and get community assistance. So that happened in Palm Beach County. We are going to continue to work with FEMA and make sure that all concerns are, brought up to them. And as it stands now, there's going to be an appeal and protest period, following these events. So there's going to be an extension that our office that we asked for and is now been granted. And FEMA has set its deadline for finalizing flood hazard maps for Palm Beach County at the end of November. So be sure to get in your specific concerns and any particular clients you have out there. Let's get those protests and get those appeals in so we can get them processed as soon as possible.
Great. Thank you so much, Congressman. Again, everyone, if you'd like to ask a question, please just press 0 on your telephone keypad, and you'll talk to one of our volunteer operators. They'll make sure their question gets through. We want to go to our next question. It comes from Linda from Martin County. Linda, you're now live on that line. Go ahead and ask your question.
Yes, Congressman Murphy. I
Hi,
live in the Treasure Coast area, and I'm really concerned about all aboard Florida and what it's going to do to the Jensen Beach, Stewart area, especially as far as keeping us away from the lifelines of the hospitals and backing up traffic.
Yeah, Linda, you're exactly right and rightfully concerned. Just yesterday, I was at church, actually, in Palm Beach Gardens, and right across the street from Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center. And a lady came up to me who's a realtor and said that she just lost the sale of a huge house. She said it would have been a record sale for her because the homeowner, learned about this train and said, I'm not going to purchase a home with this, potential threat to this, way of life. That hospital there, that Palm Beach Gardens Medical Center, I coincidentally toured about 6 weeks ago. And as I was in there, I was in the emergency room. And the driver from one of the ambulances was kind of walking through, and we started talking with some of the staff in there. And, he basically said most of the time when he's coming there, there's, basically one way to get to that hospital and one way to get out if he's coming from the west. If there is a freight train there, as we all know, we've all been stuck behind a train at least, once in our lives, that could be 10, 15 minutes. They're talking about increasing and undoubtedly they are going to increase the amount of freight on top of the 32 passenger rails. So we have some serious concerns, and we oppose All Aboard Florida due to the serious threats it poses to our economy, public safety, quality of life, as well as its risky use of unsecured taxpayer dollars. And there is no question that AAF will cause emergency vehicle delays. It's going to create traffic jams. It's going to raise noise pollution, block waterways along hundreds of miles of track to the detriment of the marine industry and real estate values. In addition, All Aboard Florida may force Florida towns and cities on already tight budgets to foot the bill for quiet zones, crossing, and future maintenance. That's something I've been talking with all the local mayors and commissioners about, is how in the world are they supposed to come up with that money to pay for this? And as it relates to the environmental impact study, that EIS that came out on Friday, quite frankly, I'm outraged that it appears the draft doesn't adequately address the very serious concerns that you just outlined, and I think many on this call, probably have throughout our community. I hope to see the final report that's better addressing these issues, following up additional input from our community. And what my greatest fear is that the FRA, the Federal Rail Association, basically took the documents from All Aboard Florida and just, sort of stamped them and rolled them forward. We've seen several cases where that information is just completely wrong. It's not factually correct. One of those examples is the amount of boats, going under the Loxahatchee, the St. Lucie. There's been cameras put in recently to count those boats, and it's much, much higher than the counts that All Aboard Florida put forward. So we are going to highlight all of these concerns. We're going to highlight where we believe that information is quite simply wrong, and I believe that will help discredit the entire document. I'm hoping to get a call with the Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Fox, this week. We've been trying to get it for a couple of days now to make sure that he knows exactly how concerned we are because of the issues you outlined, but also some of the fiscal concerns that I have as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Again, everyone, if you would like to ask a question of Congressman Murphy, please just press 0 on your telephone keypad, and we'll get you in line to ask a question. Again, press 0 if you'd like to ask a question. Congressman, we want to go to our next question from the audience. Our next question from the audience comes from Salvador from St. Lucie County.
My question is, why are you so interested in the health of the St. Lucie River? What is your motivation?
Yeah, well, thank you, Sal, for the great question. I mean, it's simple for me. I'm from the Florida Keys. I'm a conch. I was born and raised in and around the water. I could swim before I could walk. I mean, so many of the folks living here in Florida live here because of our quality of life, because of their access to the water, because of their ability to go fishing and diving and use our beaches and kayak, and all of that is important for our quality of life. And we get it. We live here. And one of the things that I've tried to explain and express to my colleagues that don't understand that maybe live in New York or they live in Nebraska or Alaska, is that this is a big part of our economy as well. That for every dollar spent on our local water infrastructure, it comes back 3 to 1 to our economy. Think of the amount of hotels and restaurants and the charter boat fishermen that rely on clean water. But also, think of those real estate values. I don't need to tell you all this, but if we had another summer like we did last summer where the water was declared toxic, literally toxic, in 3 different places, and that word got out, real estate values would certainly take a really big hit there. So it's important for me for moral reasons. I care about our environment. I want to protect it. I want future generations to enjoy it, but also believe it's important for our economy because it is dependent on that environment.
Thank you so much, Congressman. Congressman, we've been getting a lot of questions today about what you're planning on working on in the Financial Services Committee. So would you mind just touching on what you plan to work on in the next Congress on that committee?
Yes, I will. Just so everyone's on the same page, the Financial Services Committee oversees 3 very important aspects of our economy. It oversees, number one, all of housing. So anything to do with Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD. It oversees insurance, whether that's flood or whether that's a larger national catastrophic flood plan or hurricane insurance, et cetera. All that is on the committee. And then oversees capital markets, so stocks and bonds, commodities. A lot of these banking rules all fall under the Financial Services Committee. So a lot is covered there that's important for our community and really the country. So number one is looking at, on that committee, one of my priorities is flood insurance. While they made a good step in the right direction with flood insurance, putting that 18% cap, they forgot 2 really important parts that we're fighting for. One is commercial properties, and 2 is second homes for individuals. There is a mindset, again, unfortunately, by many folks, that second homes are just a bunch of multimillionaires on, Jupiter Island. A lot of the second homes in our community are not that. They are, middle class, lower middle income, families. Maybe they inherited a house. Maybe this is their retirement. To just, box them out because it's quote unquote a second home isn't right for them, and it's definitely not right for our local economy and an economy that's based so much on real estate, construction, and the industry around it. So that's a big priority, is moving and improving that bill. Another important issue on the committee is TRIA. That's the terrorism risk insurance. After 9/11, really, they changed some of the rules around terrorism risk, and in order to get your coverage, you have to know all of the information that goes into it. And I think rightfully so, the federal government doesn't want to release that classified information publicly, so the assessment can be made. So what they did is say that the federal government will be that backstop, and there are different levels for where they're going to fill in there. This is really more important in some of the bigger cities, Miami and New York and Boston, et cetera, where the threat is much higher. And our community is not as big of an issue, but we've got to get this extended. The Senate has been moving a bill. The House needs to bring something up, and I hope they do it immediately when we get back into session, so people can continue to extend their mortgages and continue operating. One last issue that I'll mention is looking at Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. There is a bill that came out of the House from the chairman of that committee called the PATH Act. That bill dismantles Fannie and Freddie entirely. It, in essence, would get rid of that 30-year fixed rate. That, to me, is disastrous to our economy, certainly to the real estate industry. I do believe that we can improve Fannie and Freddie, no question about it. We can make these programs more efficient. We could combine them, but I think there must be a federal backstop to ensure that a 30-year fixed rate is affordable. That's something I will continue advocating for. Doesn't mean we can't have more private sector involvement. Doesn't mean the private sector can't be more involved with the pricing, but we need some sort of a backstop there. This is the way our real estate system has been set up for decades and decades. So those are the priorities in the committee, and I hope we get an opportunity to bring those various bills forward.
Great. Thank you so much, Congressman. And thank you to everyone who joined us today for this National Association of Realtors Telephone Town Hall. Unfortunately, we are just about out of time. So, Congressman, I want to pass it back to you to give any last closing remarks. So, anything you'd like to add before we wrap up the call?
Sure. Well, thank you very much for your support. Thank you all for dialing in, for taking your time. Please reach out to myself or to my office if we can ever be of help. Your issues are very important to me personally and to the district. And home ownership is one of the key entryways into middle class, for middle class families. So on these and other issues, what I focus on in Congress is bringing Republicans and Democrats together. That's the only way we're going to get our country moving in the right direction. And as I said in my opening, my voting record has ranked among the top 5% most independent in the entire House. And I often cross the aisle on votes when I think the other side is right. For every vote I take, for every decision I make, I look at it in the following order. I say, how's this going to affect the Treasure Coast and Palm Beaches? How's it going to affect the state of Florida? How's it affect our country? And then, most importantly, how's it feel inside? Far too many people simply look at, what party leadership is doing, and they take those votes accordingly. We have to look at policy that suits our district the best. So this is my pledge to you all, and appreciate all your time, and be sure to stay in touch with my office and with the association so we can hopefully get some more legislation forward to help out. So thank you all very much, and have a good day.
Thank you so much, Congressman, and thank you everyone who joined us for this call. Unfortunately, we couldn't get to every question today. If you have any additional questions, please just stay on the line, and you'll be able to leave a voicemail at the end of the event. Thanks, everyone, for your time. Have a great day.